What's up, everyone? NanMans here, and we're going to be diving into our next episode of recapping the Four Seasons tournament. So if you want to watch the unedited, like non-voiceover stuff that I'm providing additional commentary for, head over to the Four Seasons YouTube, and you can check out those clips there. But let's jump into our next round featuring Boros Energy versus Bant Birthing Ritual.
Do you have a second feature match that's going to be coming up?
Okay, so what was nice with the tournament here
second one
is the fact that we got to see so many different decks featured in the tournament. So here's the next set of games we're going to see. You know, we of course Boros Energy, #1 most popular deck in Modern. It's Modern Horizons deck, right? If we're looking at basically it's all Modern Horizons 3 with a few exceptions. You can see the specific ones, but it's really cool to see the discussion that is taking place. So let's kind of mute myself for a little bit so you guys can hear Yendrick talk a little bit about it.
Since Modern Horizons 3, right? It's like Nadu was there, Nadu got out, and it's like even during that time players were experimenting with the Boros Energy stuff, and it's the one that has kind of stuck around the most since then.
Even at the first at the MH3 PT, where Nadu dominated, a player from Turkey, Boras Arigolu, they went 8-2 in the constructed part of the PT with Energy, and has been playing the deck ever since. That's just basically Energy is basically the Jant of the format right now.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
Just the best threats, the most efficient threats in the format.
Yeah, Boros Energy, I think a year ago I was definitely much more vocal about wanting to see something happen with Boros Energy, maybe do some ways to disrupt it. I talked about maybe getting rid of Guide of Souls, maybe getting rid of Oscillate Pride. I felt like with that fluctuation, Oscillate Pride was the one that I liked getting rid of more, because if you get rid of Guide of Souls, the energy package kind of falls apart, where you could still have a Borosy aggro strategy utilizing Guide of Souls, but not so much anymore. But let's look at this new list. I'm really happy about this list.
On the other side of the table, we've got a Bant Birthing Ritual here. So, the Birthing Ritual style decks, they've kind of existed for a little while here, especially the Simic version of things. But we've got a little bit of a twist on this with that specific Extraction Specialist. That's that 3-drop white creature there that lets you reanimate one of your other creatures, attack or block. But when you're going to basically turn it into another creature off Birthing Ritual, it does become very powerful. Shaving down a little bit on the Oculus, not on a full playset here, because we get some other tools. So what do you think about this Bant version of the deck?
There are a lot of interesting choices in this deck. So Unable to Scream, 2 copies in the main deck, which it's not a card that most ritual decks play, but also it makes some sense because blue-green colors are notoriously poor at answering creatures, so having this efficient way of interacting with opposing threats is pretty nice. Wall of Runes as well. That's a heavy commitment, because it's an 0-4 that I assume has been brought because Carlo envisioned a lot of Boros in the field.
Yeah, I am slowly working on building up my own Bant Birthing Ritual list. I'm not including any of the Wall of Runes in mine. I'm also not including some of the Unable to Scream or the Epheria's Dispersal. I'm going to test it out without them first and see how that works out. I do like the Crystal Barricade. I'm not doing Neoform, but basically a lot of it is the same sort of package. I decided to up my Oculus count and bring it back to 4 in my list compared to this. But I like the Storm Drakes. I like, everything else is looking very consistent and solid. But the Crystal Barricade against Storm decks, super powerful. You have Hexproof. Also, when people are trying to remove your creatures, because that's the best way to fight against Birthing Ritual, you sit there and you can be saying, nope, my creatures have Hexproof as well. So, all right, so we're going to try something a little different this time around with the video. I've position the camera a little bit more up in the corner here, and we'll try to put maybe a couple of the cards above me as we're going through it, because that was one of the things when we're like going through the match, we weren't talking and popping up the cards we normally showcase on the channel. So we're going to try something a little different for this. Let me know what you guys think of it. I know we're interrupting a little bit of the commentary for it, but let's get into it and see what insight we could have for you in this match.
Cards that you could potentially cast as well if there's some tools, and there's a lot of low drop stuff in a Birthing Ritual deck, so you might be able to steal something of value off this Ragavan here.
Yeah, and Wall of Runes would be really nice here. Sadly, just an untapped land. Oh, Ephara's Dispersal. So
bounce it back.
Yeah, it's a card that saw play in Omniscience deck in Standard, which is 3 mana, bounce a creature, and surveil 2. But if you target an attacking creature, it costs only 1 mana. So just a very nice answer to Ragavan.
We've seen this on the channel before when it's been like mono blue Tron players before.
Of a Birthing Ritual into the graveyard there. So that could also give some information there of like, okay, you already have one in your hand if you're throwing some off the top there. So, you know, a follow-up of another Ragavan there. So no like setup with any energy generation yet. And I like this sort of just like, we're going to play it kind of calm and set up here and wait and see kind of how Carlo's going to be responding to this, because you know he's already bouncing it and spending resources to try to get rid of it. But okay, our first little bit of power with the cat Ocelot Pride going to be coming down here.
Yeah, and as you said, if you see Carlo putting Birthing Ritual into the graveyard as Giovanni, I think the two things that comes to mind for you are, one, Carlo has another Birthing Ritual in hand, like you mentioned, or the second one is that Carlo is looking for a land. Because you obviously want your namesake card to be drawn. So if you elect to put Birthing Ritual into the graveyard, it's most likely because you are missing some other critical pieces, or you already have one copy. And you'd rather...
Yeah, but both of those give you information, which is great, right? Like seeing that stuff, you're like, okay, cool. I'm clocking that and seeing what's going on. Also, love the Buzz Lightyear sweatshirt. That's awesome. Just wanted to make note of that.
Yeah,
that Giovanni's got going on there. But again, this like I like that we're seeing just sort of this like land go on the right side of the table to start off round one. We had our like flash player in game one here, and now we've got, of course, the Birthing Ritual side. But it's like, okay, cool. I'll wait. You know, I'm gonna do something here, and it looks like we are gonna be flashing in our Ice Fang Quaddle here. A little bit of a draw effect. We don't have enough snow permanents to give it death touch at the moment, but still a 1/1 is enough to be able to do some blocking as need be.
Ice Fang Quaddle is a super cool card. Like I've tried doing some like snow control lists before, but really it's like in this sort of Birthing Ritual snow pile that you can do is kind of the most efficient, best version utilizing Ice Fang Quaddle. Like it doesn't really fit so much in other lists, but it's relatively easy to get up enough snow permanents when you think about like the basics are all snow, as well as having multiple Icy Fangs out onto the battlefield. It's easy to be able to do, but let's keep going with the match.
Last round of Store Championships, which is obviously immensely powerful with Ocelot's Pride.
Oh my gosh, they like how much energy we're going to start making off of all the cats that start popping out, which then gain us life, which then helps us get to that like City's Blessing. It's just such a like great synergy between those two. Exactly. There's our first little cat there. And there's what looks like our energy tracker there. I always like when players are using different tokens to represent stuff like in there. Like, okay, that's clearly a cat. We all see that, you know.
Yeah.
Ooh, Birthing Ritual.
How do you feel about custom tokens? Are you fan of the custom tokens? I mean, we always like to use the Pokemon cards as our energy representation with our decks, but our first Birthing Ritual is going to go off.
Because there are some Traben charms that can go
go
and disrupt us, but luckily for us we didn't saw one. But unluckily for us, I think there is a creature, okay, and it's Extraction Specialist. That's actually a pretty great one here. So
This is going to be really
As
cool
you
to
mentioned
see.
previously,
This is our
the
first time
creature
seeing
that
it.
gets returned can't attack or block for as long as extraction specialist is on the table. But I think it enters untapped, so that's pretty nice. If Giovanni has a removal spell for specialist pre-combat, then you can still get to block with your cattle, which is nice.
Yeah, I actually like the extraction specialist a lot added into the birthing ritual list. I think that adds like a nice little avenue. Also, it's a 3/2 with lifelink as well. So like that can be pretty relevant. It's pretty beefy overall as a creature here. So I like that. Just kind of
Very
hiding
nice.
it
Switching
underneath
it
and being
from
like, hey,
Italian
this
to English
can't
for
attack or
us.
block.
And yeah, look
it's
at
on the
the setup
battlefield,
there.
but it's
Love it.
not really here. All right. So I like
Can't
that
attack
sort
or
of
block.
just sequencing stuff to kind of help keep track for both the players here in this. But what do we got? Okay. So are we discarding? Are we going to make some tokens here? I mean, looks like nope. Flare is going to get used. That basically turning that Ice Fang Quaddle into a tool to be able to counter that. I like that. Not letting kind of Giovanni run away with things here.
Yeah, that's a very nice usage of your creature that is unable to brawl in combat. Just finding an alternate way to utilize it.
Okay, looks like we're okay with trading off here. Ragavan's the only creature coming across at this point in time. We'll do a little bit of trade, gain some life off it, but then also basically says there are no creatures out at the moment. So it's going to be on Carlo to resolve something if he wants to be able to utilize that birthing ritual next turn.
Yeah, I think what's nice about this turn for Carlo is that Giovanni didn't get any life on their turn. And did not trigger the Ocelot Pride.
Yeah, no Ocelot Pride, no Guide of Souls, no extra energy, no extra life, no extra creatures even. So that one creature he tried to deploy wasn't going to make it happen. But Oculus there. So that Surveil pitching another card into the graveyard. Let's get rid of some of these cards we don't need. And now we can really start to kind of make things happen here. Now we'll still be able to look at our top 7. We don't have to actually utilize it and get rid of anything here off the Oculus, but it still is nice to kind of get some information maybe of what is at the top, and because that also can track of going, all right, I know I've got a birthing ritual in my graveyard right now. I've got one on the battlefield. There's one in this top 7, so that means there's less likely to find that, or maybe some of the other tools later on.
Yeah, exactly. And this matchup, I think, is one that favors, or at least the traditional blue-green deck, which I think will be the case with Bant as well, is it favors Bant, of the birthing ritual side, mostly because of Oculus. We saw Carlo only playing 2 Oculuses, devoting some of the slots to combat other strategies, but they managed to draw one of the 2. That's why you put cards in the deck, because you want to draw them.
Yeah, the shaving down on the Oculus seems a little bit of a risk for the deck, but there's a lot of other tools that Carlo has at their disposal. But I have my deck that I'm going to be testing out. We'll see it on camera at our LGS and see how the Bant version does for us. But we are going to be rocking out and utilizing 4 Oculus in my version, just because it's like, I don't know, it feels like it is the best card in the deck, but I'm also running 2 Riddlers in mine, so I could be able to scale myself up and get into the, here's a Oculus, here's another 3-drop that I could have in the deck. I've turned it into a subtlety. I could also then turn it into a Riddler, or cast a Riddler on 2 and then, warp it in later on, do some stuff like that. So let's see. I don't know. Oculus, though, like, here's just kind of a being able to fly and have the evasion is definitely relevant.
I think there's a good reason not to do so. That's only an attack for 1. You're at 18 life. I think you can afford to not block, because the danger of drawing, rather not drawing, but playing Ragavan post combat and just flipping the Ajani and killing your Oculus is just too high.
Right.
Because I think at that point, Carlo's hand were subtlety.
Oh, the Storm Drake flip here. So that's a cool little. I like these little additions we talk about here. So, volatile Storm Drake, you know, normally lets us be able to get energy and be able to swap and steal creatures and stuff like that. But it's also a 3/2 flyer here. So this gives us like access to multiple flyers, multiple evasive creatures that we can start putting some pressure on our opponent with. And I like the idea of just kind of keeping the Oculus back for now and then going to end step with the Birthing Ritual trigger.
Yeah. And already seeing at least an Ice Fang Cattle that will keep the cards churning and the combat sort of locked up. And in Carlos' hand, choose to take nothing. That's quite interesting.
So why would we go for that? Like, are we just much happier with what we've got available to us out here? It's like a 3/2 flyer, a 5/5. Like we are relying on those and keeping those with the pressure going more than the card advantage here. Is that kind of the logic, maybe?
Yeah, I think so. I think Carlo just values a free power flyer more than they value an extra card. That's an interesting approach.
Yeah, those are those interesting moments, like, where we're able to kind of get Yendrick's insight. He is a Jeskai Blink player and a RC grinder trying to get into the Pro Tour. So, like, his knowledge and, like, the lines that he is seeing and talking about and trying to make is definitely really insightful and really important for these matchups, because I'm seeing specific things and trying to kind of navigate the conversation and kind of, like, make note of that, where if he's saying something's interesting, it's okay, let's break that down for the viewers of why we find that interesting and what about that makes this choice that this player is making so unique.
Which is the 1/1 token. I
believe the one that doesn't have the counters is the Ajani token.
Yeah, I think so as well, because I think the other token was there first before Ajani resolved. So now I think not flashing in Ice and Cattle is a wise choice, because you can still keep up the subtlety, threatening with Fleisch. There was also no blocks on Carlos' side, which makes sense, I think.
There's the Flage attempt.
There's a Flage attempt that I think, as Carlo, you should let it resolve, I think. Because if you subtlety it, it comes back next turn.
Interesting. Okay, going for the Icy Fang here. At least get some more information, and then we could decide from there whether we're good with it or not.
Yeah. But yeah, if you just let it resolve, then it goes to the graveyard, and you can get it with your endurance. And what's also important that we've seen on, I think, turn 3 or turn 4, we saw Seasoned Pyromancer getting flared. So there is Seasoned Pyromancer sitting in the graveyard and Giovanni is getting dangerously close to 5 mana, which makes Ajani all that more potent, because it's an uncounterable way to provide Giovanni with a red permanent. So having the ability of dealing with both Flash and with Seasoned Pyromancer in one fell swoop with the single endurance is just such a game changer for Carlo. So I think it's a pretty heads-up play on Carlo's part.
Yeah, I like that. And our permanent count is increasing here for Giovanni, as well as we're getting closer and closer to that city's blessing. More and more life going to be taking place. But there we go. The endurance going to come. Let's shuffle away. Not going to deal with Flage anytime soon, or at least not deal with the one that was in the graveyard anytime soon here. But, nice little turn there for both players being able to try to kind of make something happen. Like we had some pressure, some life swing a little bit here, but Giovanni definitely kind of on the more of the receiving end of the pain in the sense that he lost, wasn't able to really do what he wanted to do with the Flage here. But another Oculus. So only 2 in the list and 2 on the battlefield here. So that's going to be kind of a way to really take over the game here. So I like that plan.
And the Wall of Runes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. A very solid blocker, and actually one that...
Yeah, Wall of Runes, again, 04 enters, you got to do some scrying. Like, it's not something you expect, but, like, if you are anticipating a lot of Boros energy or aggro decks, it makes sense to be able to, tweak your deck accordingly. And that's the thing about the, like, Birthing Ritual list. It's a toolbox deck when it comes to creatures, and you can sit here and do these tweaks and changes to it to, like, have, like, silver bullets in the Crystal Barricade is one of those. So, like, adding in these things to fit the meta is really cool and really powerful here.
Or in your main phase.
All right, so it looks like we're going and digging at those top off of the Birthing Ritual here, seeing, yep, we'll get that Icy Fang, swap it out, it looks like, turning that wall into at least another additional card on the battlefield and drawing a card off it to help get some kind of refilling of the hand, because we did spend a lot of resources these last 2 turns.
Yeah, and crucially, it now has Death Touch. Because there are 2 Ice Fangs and...
and 2 snow lands as well. So our snow permanents have increased. So having a Death Toucher there does definitely make things pretty useful here in this next stage. And then more and more, there's so many creatures. We got now 2 rows of creatures. Here's my ones that can actually interact with you. Here's the ones that are tapped. I love it.
And it's a very nice, like, visual representation of the board, almost like a chessboard. You have your your defense row, like, I would want to say pawns, but opponent Oculus is definitely not a pawn. It's like putting your queen forward to just threaten your opponent's board, and then you have the backline just resting a bit after swinging. You do need to rest after doing the job. So it looks like there is 15 damage in the air for Carlo next turn. Let's not forget that the bolstered scat token has flying, so there is 1 flying blocker on Giovanni's side. But another Guide of Souls can snowball out of control if the game goes for it.
This matchup was such an interesting one because of just seeing how, like, locked up the board state got between these 2 decks, of just, like, you see both have, like, these swarms of creatures kind of blanketing things. Double Guide of Souls, it's also going to mess things up. So, like, we're in this really interesting spot of, like, the game could easily tilter one way or the other based on this moment in time, as the players have kind of had enough time to build up all these tools and power.
But
and I think that... Oh, the Ragavan was dashed. Okay, that makes that makes much more sense, because otherwise playing it pre-combat would reveal some information to Carlo that you indeed have the red permanent that you can like bolster Rajani with and started dealing damage. I think the choice whether to sacrifice Ice Fang or Wall of Runes last turn was quite interesting, because now you are deprived of Death Touch, but also you don't have this nice O4 blocker that can just take care of an attacking creature without killing it.
Right.
Also,
moving those over here to the other cat token here.
Yeah, I'm not sure about attacking with Ragavan, because it's not a cut, so it won't trigger Ajani. So it can just get eaten with Oculus, and then you are out of red permanents. But maybe the thinking behind it is that you just want to overwhelm Carlo in combat, and even if it gets eaten, you don't care about it, and you just push through enough damage that it will be profitable with you.
Yeah, so the debate here, going through, trying to math it out and kind of see, okay, if I take these hits, do I have enough on the backswing and you're gaining this life? Okay. And so like there's a lot of decision makings here on how you block. I mean, the easy one, like you see, is like, okay, I throw something in front of Ragavan, but definitely looking about trying to utilize that Icy Fang, it looks like, whether or not like I don't know. The Guide of Souls can be a little bit tricky to kind of push in there. The energy has been spent at this point in time. Looks like we're not worrying about the cats, which is smart and safe. So actually just going to do that little trade-off here against Ragavan, take the rest of the hit, go to 3.
Yeah, I wonder what's the deal with not blocking Guide of Souls.
Yeah.
Because it just seemed like a free block to me.
It because there's especially because Giovanni is hellbent right now. No other
Yes,
tools
I think so,
available
yeah.
to him. So like
Maybe we are missing something. There are so many objects in play
right.
that, but I think
I think that's something to be said too. It's like there's so much going on the board that we're tracking and keeping up with. Eyes in the skies, we have that perfect information, but you're there playing against it. There's all that extra pressure and stress that comes with it, and also sitting here and mapping out how you want to swing back in and stuff. So, but Carlo's going to take an untap here and kind of go through. You see him mathing it out again, looking through and trying to kind of confirm how things are going. But big life swing after that last turn here. Now it's basically on him to kind of respond and figure out where to go from here to kind of get himself either taken over the game. But it's, math wise, it's 18 life that he's got to be able to hit in for. And he's got a lot of flyers to be able to try to do it, though.
yes.
I don't know
So
what this manifest card is, though. Could it be another flyer that we could utilize? But
very
looks like
likely, or I guess not very likely, but potentially. I don't think either of us caught what Carlo manifested. I think they are keeping the manifested card. Not that close to. They are not manifesting. They are
Not yet.
resolving.
Not yet. We got that birthing ritual first to see if we can get any other good tools to help us out here.
Yeah, I wonder what that green creature was. Was it some alternative printing on endurance? Maybe.
Ooh, very, very possible.
Oh, that's great. That's
Nice.
a very nice card to get here.
Extraction specialist coming back again. 3/2 lifelink, and we're going to reanimate something that is, of course, mana value 2 or less. Ice Fang Quad will come back. Can't attack or block, but the drawing card does help us out. So again, just like more tools at our disposal here. The lifelink can be very relevant here. And now we're doing our manifesting dread. Oh, another Storm Drake there.
Yeah, and now I think Carlos' hand is 3 cards, but those cards are Force of Negation, Subtlety, and Flare of Denial. So Carlo is just ready for anything that Giovanni throws their way. And there is
this is where that extraction specialist really is coming in clutch, where the board is kind of stalemated, and we're like, okay, I now get to turn my Icy Fang Quaddle into an extraction specialist, which then brings back it. So it's basically like getting 2 cards for the price of 1, and I get to draw a card off the top. Like, that was, I really like the idea of extraction specialist. I first got it on my radar with like a counter company deck and doing like devoted druid combos and stuff like that, because you're like, oh, I can bring this creature back. I'm not going to attack or block with it anyway. I'm just going to tap it for a bunch of mana. But discharge, nope, we've got a flare and we got a force. You're wondering my ways to react to your galvanic discharge here. But no, let's get rid of that. And that tool we talk about is why we have this reanimation here with extraction specialist, because it basically gives us a free resource to pitch into our counter spells. But here we go. Swinging the team. Let's go. Bring everyone across.
Yeah, because Giovanni's position isn't getting any better, I think. So right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 attackers on Giovanni's side, and we have 7 blockers on Carlos' side, including 4 flying blockers, and there are 3 flying attackers. So I think Yeah, those blocks make sense. They just trade. Then you can
Mhm.
block the cat with the pride with opponent Oculus. You
Yep.
can eat the Ajani as well.
Yeah, I like this. We're just like confirming, just making sure everything. And yeah, Icy Fang, no problem. We'll throw that in there. Like you said, Oculus will be able to eat Ajani here, and we'll take the 1 Guide to Souls damage from all of that.
Yeah, and will gain 3 life. I think there is slight inaccuracy in these blocks because Ice Fang is blocking a first striking Ocelot Pride, which means that I don't think that Carlo realized that Ocelot Pride had first strike because they pointed out on their snake, probably saying that my snake has death touch, and then Giovanni pointed right back at them, probably saying, but my creature has first strike.
Right.
So yeah, there is going up to 17. The board meaningfully reduced, and now I think Giovanni scooped it up, because I don't think there is
Yeah,
any.
it's like you go through and you're like, okay, well, here's my last final attack. Let's swing in. You blocked everything else. Yes, I gained a bunch of life, but there's just too much on the other side for me to kind of get through. We'll extend the hand there and go right into sideboarding options here. You can see kind of the players looking through things. So let's kind of go look at the decks again and see. So Giovanni's Boros Energy kind of swarmed the board, but wasn't really able to have those like big impact cards there with like Goblin Bombardment or Flayeds to really kind of like break through that stalemate that took place. So what are we looking for sideboard wise to kind of help us break through some of this?
We're interrupting our gameplay to let you know about our new affiliate with NerdGear. Nerdgear.gg/NanMan will take you directly to the website, and as you can see, they've got a bunch of awesome gaming accessories from playmats, life counters with the life tracks, playmat holders, and more. So make sure you do some browsing on the site, find some goodies, and then use the code NGNanman for 5% off your entire order. But let's get back to our gameplay.
I think that stopping Birthing Ritual is the most important thing to do against the Bant deck, and you have some Werthers to do that. It's a nice 1-mana answer to Birthing Ritual. I would probably bring those in. You also have 3 main deck Charms that I mentioned before.
Right.
That's a very nice tool as well. And there is a Wrath of the Skies that I think out of slower decks is traditionally pretty okay against the Ritual deck, but I don't think you want to use Wrath in your monsters deck to clear up the board, because you will be left with nothing as well.
Right.
There is maybe an approach here with like you are banking on Flage and Bombardment to control the board, and you assume the control role and you use Wrath of the Skies to clear everything up. But I don't think that's like a terrific idea from the Boros side. So I would assume that there will be where enters brought in, cutting. I don't know what you really cut from Boros here, because all of your cards are obviously great. Ranger Captain of Eos doesn't seem that great. I think the clause of not being able to cast non-creature spells upon sacrificing is not that relevant in this matchup. But I can also see Voice of Victory being cut potentially, even though the Bant deck has a good deal of instants. So we'll see. Another card that Boros might bring in is Showdown of the Skulls. If you expect the game to go long, like it did in the game 1, like it makes sense to have this ways of refueling. As far as Bant goes, I think the very old card in the sideboard is Hercules Recall. It's like the old printing of Hercules Recall, so I don't expect it to be brought in. It looks like there isn't much for Boros. The
I mean,
one
there's
Sun
that
Cleanser.
one sun cleanser in there, like,
Yeah.
can kind of shut down at least the energy that they can gain. But I don't know, like after watching the deck in action, it didn't feel like there was like these glaring weaknesses that we need to kind of shore up in this
Yeah.
like post board state.
And I assume that Benevolent River Spirit, which is a card just underneath Sun Cleanser, will be brought in as well. Just an Avatar Limited All-Star, another interesting addition to the deck. It's a 2-mana flying 4/5 with Ward 2.
Oh yeah.
Which is a very impressive stat line. It also has an additional cost of Water Band 5 or 6.
Yeah, that River Spirit, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, do I want to rebuild the old Spirit list, like Azora's Spirit, and just run that in there? Because it's like a Vile deck, and it's got a lot of flash elements to it. I haven't picked up my playset yet, but it's on my radar of cards, and I'm like, yeah, I think I do want to. I've been enjoying building back the old Kindred decks of the past, so going to be interested to see how that will work. It's a pretty powerful stat line, hexproof and the flying elements to it, so we'll see if it comes into play in this kind of round 2.
Once again, I'm gonna bring it up because
Yeah.
aside from killing the namesake card of the ritual deck, it can also deal with Sun Cleanser even without access to energy, which will, I think, end up being a big deal in this game.
Oh, 100%. Like that's the thing. It's like the charms just have so much versatility, especially in the Boros energy deck, where you can be like, okay, what do I need to answer? Am I answering a creature? Am I answering your enchantments? But okay, Guide of Souls into our voice here. So voice can have a little bit of annoyance, basically saying, I know you want to try to utilize your counter spells and stuff like that, but you're not going to be able to utilize those on my turn here. And also generates at least some more threats and creatures to kind of swarm the board a little bit here with this when it gets to attack. So, already kind of setting things up the way that you want to, I would say. Get a way to make energy, got a way to make creatures. Like we can really kind of start putting the pressure on Carlo here with this kind of first 2 turns as Giovanni's kind of set up with his Boros energy here. So, what can Carlo do now? Like, I mean, we're assuming he's probably going to drop down like Sun Cleanser here. It's like a 1/4, so it's pretty hardy at least to kind of absorb some hits, but like is that really where you want to be on turn 2? Just sort of tap out, play a creature, and hope that the kind of buildup of Boros is not too much on the following turn?
I think it makes sense to play Sun Cleanser. Like, if you expect or suspect so many Traben charms from Giovanni's, then it's a bit more risky. But aside from that, there is no real answer to Sun Cleanser. And I think you're already on the back foot. Your opponent has 2 permanents in play, 2 creatures rather in play, and Guide of Souls with Voice of Victory just ramps up really fast. So I think playing Sun Cleanser is your best bet, even though it will sadly get charmed on Giovanni's turn, I think.
All right. So yeah, there we go. Clears off the energy there. So can't gain any more energy as long as Sun Cleanser is out onto the battlefield. But like you said, there's a lot of ways to be able to answer and respond to that. So we will see. And there is the Thraben chart in hand, but 2 Arena of Glory is just kind of set over to the side here. You know, that's the debate. It's like, do we just sort of like send a message and start sending creatures across? Do we kill this off? Like you, because it's dealing damage based off of your. Okay, here we go. We're firing it off now.
It's twice the number of your creatures, so it's exactly 4 damage. For Giovanni, and technically you can go to combat, get extra creatures, and ensure that even if one of your creatures gets dealt with, it can kill something. But in this spot, Giovanni has Voice of Victory, so there is no need to worry about anything.
Right?
Really.
Yeah, exactly. So no worry, no stress about that. Gain some energy there, clear off, push for damage there, and drops Carlo to 12 there with that. So yeah, definitely this is like kind of the power of Boros energy of like when you have this kind of pressure going and it just sort of like foot on the pedal, we're just going full speed ahead with our game plan of aggro, and it's going to be kind of Carlo on the back foot and trying to kind of piece something together, get some stuff in the way here. But, the voice of victory preventing stuff from being able to be cast on your opponent's turn definitely is a bit of a problem. But a nice little bit of a wall going to jump in the way here. Going to, of course, be able to scry off of that and maybe see if we can kind of piece up something for our following turns as well here. But any other creatures we got available? Because again, it's like we should play stuff on our first turn because there's nothing we can do on our opponent's turn. But Birthing Ritual, again, namesake of the deck, maybe be able to turn that into something. But
Ooh, a
we
very
have plenty of
timely
energy.
Galvanic Discharge that also rewards Giovanni for playing the last turn as they did, because I've said that you can go to
That's
combat
also
and then shoot.
the risk and or like dangers of playing a ritual based deck. Is there's this window where you're like, I'm going to my end step, I'd like to start looking at my stuff, and that's the perfect time where you're supposed to be answering and killing off your opponent's creatures and making sure they don't get the kind of the wheels starting to move, and you're kind of going, all right, I've setting the dominoes in motion. Let's start progressing and going further and further up the chain into getting better and better creatures. But this Boros list is running away with things here.
Nice. And then we've got an exerted Arena of Glory. So we're giving this a Johnny haste, and we're going all the way in here with all of this. So making our token and going to be able to put a lot more pressure on Carlo and really drop his life total down. And also, look at this. 3 energy built up again, so we can be able to give something some flying, boost up the power as well. And here we go, sending the group across, and just I guess confirming there is like, all right, how bad is this going to be for me here? How much damage is actually coming across here? Voice of Victory is going to be our one getting the flying here, so pushing even more damage.
Yeah, I think it's 7 damage. So yeah, Carlo drops down from 11 to 4. And we have a certain trend going on with decks on the right side of the screen. They are not playing very well from behind, just like Blue-Black didn't. And only 5 cards in the graveyard. With a fetch land, Carlo can drop Oculus on this turn, but I don't think that's enough to stem the bleeding. Even with the Manifest, there will be just way too many attackers on Giovanni's side. And if Giovanni has another creature in hand, like I think they have, another Arena of Glory will be exerted. Unless it's a double white spell, then they can't. And just, I think it's way too much pressure for Carlo to handle, unfortunately. Especially that they are dropping down to 1 with this.
I was going to say,
thing into
that
stupor,
is a choice. Yeah. All right, so Volatile Storm Drake going to come here, and let's do a swap and say, I would like your Voice of Victory, please, and you may have this. I'm going to be utilizing my energy to do a trade here. But, oh, okay, that I was like, so why did we need that life to do that? That's why here. Okay, we've got our Neoform, so we will be able to go and try to find not like our
The
Oculus here, but then,
Neoform
like
in
you
the list
mentioned,
is also like a additional copy of Oculus, essentially, because it's like, oh, I only need like 2 copies of Oculus in the list because I've got Neoform to get me there. And the extra +1 counter is relevant, but it's like at this point it feels like a little too late.
of course, at least do the Birthing Ritual thing. Take a look and go, okay, we clearly want our Oculus. It's the best card we've got. So let's see. Manifest the Dread. Take a look at those. Doing some surveillance. Basically, clean like you've as Giovanni, you kind of already know, right? We've talked about it. It's just the amount of pressure you've been able to put in game 2. So this is a really nice spot to be in here. But definitely a like you mentioned, playing from behind on the right hand side, it's been tough with these kind of flash decks, these like tempo based stuff, and now the team goes across, scooping it up here for Carlo, as Giovanni would be tying things up 1-1 there with that series, but. All right. So we're going to be getting in and shifting gears a little bit here. So we had a little bit of a deck check, if you will, after this. And confirm, because playing at a big event is one thing, and especially with the different lighting in an area, if you don't have the best sleeves, some of your double face cards can kind of become a little bit visible. So we did have a bit of a deck check there, and we did confirm that who was it? I believe the yellow
It was
sleeves.
Carlo, yeah.
Yep, Carlos. My assumption, sink into stupors that he had there
Yes.
were visible there. So we did get the game
Okay.
loss there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Unfortunately,
that is one of the things that happens. It especially if you're playing at your local event and you're used to having the yellow sleeves and you don't have any issues there because the lighting at your LGS might be a little bit different. You can't see the cards, but then when you go to a different event, like the lighting is different and yellow's not the best at blocking some of that light. So, he does have that option to be able to kind of go pick up new sleeves, be able to go into the next round and try to be able to have his deck sleeved up ready to go for there. It's not like he's out of the tournament for that, but that is just one of those things that does end up happening there. So
definitely a bit unfortunate anytime that real life logistics gets in the way of determining the result of the match. But yeah, that's life, sadly, sometimes. And maybe a reminder to tone it down with the color of your sleeves. I just always go for black sleeves because they are almost never transparent. And in general, I would either use dual matte sleeves that have black interior anyways. And then you can go crazy with all the colors you like. But if they are not, then I would just suggest going for darker colors of sleeves. That just for your safety. If you're playing in your LGS, that's not that big of a deal. But if you are traveling for like a competitive big event, then that can be a cautionary tale for anybody in attendance.
Yeah, and Carlos, definitely is playing a very cool deck today. So I hope that he's able to kind of reset mentally from that, because that is another thing too that comes into like, oh, I got a game loss and it was all tied up there in the series. Like it was about to go to game 3, but now I have to kind of reset, re-sleeve, and get myself ready for the next set in the tournaments there. So, I think it was pretty good overall to be able to see both matches there on camera there. So we're going to be doing a little bit of a break soon and kind of reset to get ready for round number 2 here.
All right, so I hope you guys have been enjoying. Let's shift gears for a sec. All right, so yeah, I hope you guys have been enjoying our breakdown that we've been doing, at least kind of recapping a little bit of the 4 Seasons tournament. I've been having a ton of fun being able to kind of look back at it. We are going to keep sprinkling in. I know a lot of people prefer to just hear the games and stuff like that, so I will remind you can check those out over at the 4 Seasons YouTube channel and be able to see the kind of behind the scenes commentary. I don't know, director's commentary, do we want to call it that? I wasn't the director of the show, but I was a caster of the show. So, yeah, a little behind-the-scenes elements that we can kind of add a little bit to. But that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks so much for tuning in and watching, y'all, and I'll see you all next game.